back in April of this year, I did a crawfish boil, and in that crawfish boil, I added some homemade deer sausage that I had made. I made a small batch, only 5 pounds, but I asked all of you to leave in the comments who would like to see me make that same deer sausage, and I had a good enough response to where today is the day. And let me show you what I got here. I'm doing 20 pounds, so you know. I've got 8.5 pounds of pork butt that did have a bone in it, so minus whatever the bone weighs. I put an additional 1.5 pounds of pork fat that I had in the freezer. And over here is 10 pounds of venison. Now this venison I bought, and I'm assuming it's farm raised. I don't think it's legal to sell wild deer, but at any rate, these come in 1 pound pouches. So I bought 10 pouches. And but if you're a deer hunter and have access to deer, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but that's the route I'm going. It's going to be the same thing as venison, as white-tailed deer mixed with pork. And I'm going to take this here in just a few minutes, set up my grinder, because this is still partially frozen. Some of the pieces are still frozen in the center, which is exactly what you want for grinding. So let me set my grinder up. We're going to go ahead and start our first grind on this, then I'll take you from there. All right, so here is my grinder set up, and as you can see, everything's ice cold. I always stress that because meat grinds a whole lot better if it's ice cold. I got partially frozen meat. I've got this jacket on here, which is keeping all this ice cold. All this is frosted up just a minute ago. So we're gonna cut our grinder on. And by the way, I did lubricate the back part of this die right here. That prevents that instant friction. Friction generates heat. We're trying to keep the heat down. So the first thing I want to go in with is a chunk of fat. That's also going to add like more lubricant. Pork butt. We're just going to alternate between the deer meat, the pork butt, chunks of fat. And this is our first grind. I think that is a 3/8 grinding plate, or that might be my 10 millimeter. Either one will work. Now this is going to get a thorough mixing, so just drop it in there the best you can. And I'm not going to bore you through the whole process here. This is our first grind. After I get this fully ground, I'm going to take this entire pan, place it in the freezer to keep all this ice cold, because we will be doing a second grind with the seasonings that we're using. So I'll bring you back here in a few minutes after this first grind. So when I did this sausage back in April, I did 5 pounds, as I said, and what I used is the PS seasoning. This is their Cajun link. This is number 364. Let me make sure. Yeah, 364. So if you go to their website, you can just punch in the search for Cajun links or 364, and that's what this is. And let me tell you, I have been eating deer sausage around here all of my life, and it's always really good, but man, this to me was better than anything I've ever had made by the local meat processors and such. And for me to try to come up with my own recipe for that, I'm like, why screw with success? And a lot of people kind of like, oh man, you need to come up with your own recipes, you know, for your sausage. Well, that's fine and dandy if you're going to do this in bulk and if you're going to sell it and it's your signature sausage and everything. That's great. But the thing about it is, if you do like me, you're just doing small batches at a time and you do it every now and then. By the time you buy all the seasonings that go in to this, and by the way, this already has your sodium erythorbate in it and other things that are not only hard to find, but they're expensive. So what I'm getting at, for $8.59, you get the seasoning for 25 pounds. You get the maple cure, which has everything you need to cure this. It has your sodium nitrite. It's already in there. It's already measured out at the right amount for 25 pounds. And if you watched in my older videos and you see me cut them in half, I've used half now and half later, cut everything down by half. You can do that, or you can do 5 pounds like I said, and just do the math on it. But what I have left is enough for 20 pounds. So I would rather spend $8.59, have everything ready, and then I don't have anything going into my cupboards up here to sit for a year and a half before I use it again. They'll lose their freshness. It's just a lot of wasted money. All right, so I just said that I would do the second grind, then add the seasoning. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and add the seasoning in now. That way we get a really good mix. And not only that, when you take this seasoning, if you use a portion and then vacuum pack it, vacuum seal it like I did, every time I go back to use it, it's rock hard like a brick, so I have to bust it up. It's completely fresh. It's just, it compacts it so much, and yet it kind of work. It gets a few clumps in it. So I'm just gonna take and distribute this over the meat, and we're just gonna mix all that in good by hand to start with, and then we're gonna let the grinder do the remainder of the mixing, and then of course later the actual mixer. I don't want to work this too much. I don't want to start getting tacky and sticky. This is just strictly to mix in the seasonings. That's all we're doing here. One thing I have noticed, this is a number 12 grinder, and the second grind, when you're going through a smaller plate, this is a 1/8 of an inch plate, the machine will struggle a little bit more than what it did on the first. At the first one, through a 3/8, it's just spitting it out. It will take longer on your second grind, generates a little bit more heat, but just don't push it, don't force it. Just drop it in there and let it feed itself. That's what I found to be the very best. Do not force it. It will come through. Just give it time. So we're just gonna start with little handfuls here. Drop that in, and here we go. See, that's coming out pretty good actually. As long as you don't push it, force it, you're gonna do good. For home use, this number 12 it works great. I mean, obviously you can sit. So let's take our 20 pounds of ground meat, go ahead and throw it in our mixer. All right, I'm only going to do about a 5-minute mix on this. That's all it's going to take to get it the tackiness I'm looking for. I'm not going to do a super emulsification on this like I would with the bologna or summer sausage. 5 minutes should do plenty. Just give a good mix on all that seasoning. Get it good and thorough with some protein extraction. I tell you what, this is smelling good already. I love that seasoning. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start this up. And into that, I've got 1 cup of water, and I've got my maple cure that I mixed into the water just a minute ago. We're just gonna pour all that in. Gonna let it go 5 minutes. At that point, I might chill it back down just for a little while, and then we'll stuff some hog cases and get these ready to put in the fridge overnight. All right, let's see how we did. That's about the amount of protein extraction I'm looking for. It won't hang all day long like some of the other ones I did, but that's what I'm looking for right there. So the stuffer I'm using today is just a 5-pound capacity, which means I'm gonna have to load this thing up 4 different times. And all this is still really cold. You just wanna put some in the bottom and make sure you pack it down. That minimizes and eliminates air pockets from getting in your sausage. You'll probably still get a few, no biggie. I'll show you how to get those out as well. So I bought a pack of 32 to 35 millimeter hog casings, and PS Seasonings do have them. And I took 1 of the casings out. I've got it in fresh water. They've been soaking in the other water, the warm water, for around 30 minutes. Just washing some of that salt, that brine off of them. So I'm gonna take some of this water. We're gonna wet this horn. Now you do have to pick the right size horn. The horn is going to be smaller than your casing to where it can go on there easily. You don't want it too small, of course. Find your opening. Put your little water in there. That water is going to help rinse out the center of that casing. It's going to keep your horn lubricated. And also, if you get all this out of here, it'll let you know if you got any leaks. So It'll also help the casing go on the horn easier, and just slide this on, get out any wrinkles or twists that's in it. All right, so I'm gonna tie a knot right here at the end. I'm gonna go ahead and push some meat through the cylinder here. It's gonna come out through the horn. All right, now you can see the air that's being pushed through there. And here comes the meat. You can take a little fork or prick or anything and just pop your end. That lets the air out. Now if you can get some help on one of these manual type stuffers, it makes life a lot easier. Just hold a little bit of pressure here. You don't want to hold it too tight. Just let it kind of come out naturally. If you get it too tight, you could risk blowing out your casing. Now I'm probably going to get my son to help me here in just a minute. I'm just showing you the first one. We got right at 5 pounds on this one hog casing, so we want to go ahead and make links. And what I like to do, I pretty much just guess at it, like 6-inch links. You want to press right here, then go about another 6 inches and press right here, and start turning this away from you. Just give it about 3 or 4 good twists. That's all you got to do. Now you skip the next one. Press here, and I'm not worried about them being exact. Some people take and twist them like this. Either way, just get the twist on there. These are going to be drying out overnight in the fridge, so that's going to help these from coming undone. You want to skip this one, press here, go to your next one, press in. Give it a good twist, just like so. So I'm going to keep going with this. I'm going to finish this one, then we're going to knock out the rest of this meat, get them all linked up, and from there I'm just going to lay them on a rack in the refrigerator. We're going to let them dry out overnight. I'll be back tomorrow with a smoker fired up. We're going to smoke this deer sausage. Whew, it is the next day. Today is Sunday. What is the date? July the 25th. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
July the 25th. Anyway, one thing I forgot to tell you or show you right when I closed out last night was on each one of these links that I stuffed, I took a sausage pricker and I pricked all the way down those, and that is to remove any kind of air that's trapped in between the meat and the casing. You end up with a whole lot better result if you do that. So let me get you up to speed here. What I've done is I went ahead and loaded this and hung out all the sausage, and I turned the PK100 up to 110 degrees, and there it all is. That's 20 pounds, and I tell you what, that's just about perfect for this little smoker right here. And I've been going only 30 minutes because these have been drying all night in the refrigerator. Nice dry, they're going here to smoke real well. I've got my smoke pan with 3/4 full of hickory sawdust. Put that on the burner. That's in place. One other thing I want to do is I want to take my ThermoWorks dot, just a single probe thermometer. I'm going to fish it back through my upper vent. Drop it in. All right, so I'm just going to take this probe and we're just going to put it in one sausage here. That's going to be the one we monitor all these with, and I'll explain a little bit more later why. Close her up. Let me adjust this bottom vent to about 1/3 of the way open. I'll take my top vent, go about halfway on it. So I'm shooting for around 150 to 155 degrees tops. Sausage, smoked sausage, is just like what you buy in the store. It is fully cooked. You could eat it at 150, 155, but I prefer, and most people do, they'll take that and they'll put it on the grill, they'll cook it into a dish, and it gets well above that barely safe zone, if you know what I'm saying. So, but at 150 to 155, you end up with a better result on your sausage. It's plumper, it's juicier, it's completely cooked, but you're not taking it to the extreme and making it more dry and shriveled up, if you know what I'm saying. But once it comes out, you can vacuum seal it, you can freeze it, or you can go straight onto a grill with it and grill it all up. And I like taking sausage like this and add it into gumbos, etouffee, just all kind of things, red beans and rice, you name it. It's really good on stuff like that. All right, I've been applying smoke now for 4 hours. I just checked the pan, the smoke pan, and it is completely out of sawdust. So I've got all the smoke I need on this. We're gonna go ahead and ramp this up to 195 degrees. Whoop, overshot it. Set, we're good. All right, it's gonna take it roughly 15-20 minutes, maybe 30 to get up to this temperature, so I will allow for that extra time. But regardless, I'm still looking for 150, no more than 155 internal. I might go to 155. That's where I normally bring them. That's, to me, a magic number for doing these type of smoked sausages. So we'll be back when I hit that temperature that I'm looking for. There's nothing more I can do. All the smoke has been added, and all we can do is just let it get up to temp, and I'll see you when that happens. Well, it is raining here again in South Mississippi. This is only every day for the whole entire summer. It was blue skies this morning, now it's raining. Imagine that. All right, so I did a temperature check on my dot. I'm reading about 148. So I did a temperature check with my instant read, and across the top ones, that's more across the top, I'm rating about 150. The bottom ones are around 155. So that only makes sense. They're closer to the fire. Heat does rise, but the bottom ones are hotter than the top ones. So nominally, overall, they are done. So let's pull them out of here. Open up our pit. Ooh-wee, take a look at them beauties. That looks outstanding. Let's go ahead and drop this probe out of here. And what you want to do from here is remove the rods that's holding them. And we're going to ice these down in some saturated ice, water and ice water. And what that does is help keep them somewhat plump, stop them from shriveling up as much. It doesn't completely stop it, but it does help. But it stops the cooking process. Look at those beauties. All right, now let's grab our other one. Up, let's turn the dot off. Or we're gonna silence it anyway. I'll turn it off here in a few moments. And by the way, if you happen to see my shoes in this video, those are my house shoes from early this morning. I'm still wearing them. All right, let's submerge all these. We're gonna let these cool down. Probably 10 minutes will do it. It's not gonna take long. If it was in the winter months where our temperatures don't get extremely cold, you know, but they do get cool, I would probably remove these from the ice bath and put them right back into the chamber with it turned off. Speaking of that, let me turn this off. And I would just let them bloom for like 2 hours. So what I'm going to do is once these cool off, I'm bringing them indoors and I will probably put them on a big grate, put them in the oven. The oven's off, it's at room temperature. I'm just gonna let them sit there and bloom for about 2 hours. And but I will give you a taste test on one of these right after they cool off a little bit. So I'll be right back. All right, I just took and sliced off a little piece here, and it is super juicy. Smells very good, no case hardening. And while I'm talking about that, as I mentioned earlier, it is so humid out here that if you're into sausage making, be aware that if you live in a real humid environment, that you don't necessarily need a water pan, at least through the smoking stage, because the humidity is not going to hurt it. Once you get the smoke on there and get the color you're wanting, it will prevent case hardening. So let's give it a try. Oh man, that is what I remember. I made this exact same stuff back in April. Oh God, who would not love that? I wish you could taste it right now, I really do. I tell you what, if you're into sausage making or want to get into it, I encourage you to check out PS Seasonings. Go back through some of my other sausage making videos and see which ones that you're attracted to. This is very good. It's got a little heat to it, which I really like. That's the Cajun aspect, but it's some of the best deer venison sausage I've ever put in my mouth. Now my next video, I'm going to take one of these links and I'm going to do a venison corn dog. So stay tuned for that. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. Hope you got something from it. I'm Russ Jones with Smoky Ribs Barbecue. Until next time.